you get around 4.5 millimeters for static pressure, a little over 57 for CFM. So not top of the chart for performance, but striking that balance point between looks and performance. We do have two sizes, the Trio and the Solo. Solo is going to go up for $19.99. The Trio is $44.99. And we stripped all the proprietary bullshit out of our ecosystem. So this is completely running on ARGB and PWM now, which does introduce some limitations because 5V can only supply so much power. But we even updated our noodles, so our noodles are also now ARGB instead of our proprietary connectors from before. So we do have a smart hub, that white hub. All it does is take one rail of SATA power, 20 watts, and plugs into USB 2.0 on your motherboard and gives you 4 ARGB and 4 PWM headers. It's not a repeater, so it does have a chip inside that allows you to independently identify and control each and every port. So that's going to be available for $24.99. Over here we have a very early prototype of our Essential Cooler. So we're building a brand new cooler platform. Previously we had the whole thick Q60 and thick Q80. We're kind of doing away with that idea of most part. This is a traditional size thickness for the rad and for the fans. We do have RGB, and we do have an end cap that has 2 different designs. We haven't exactly decided which one to use. But the idea is this will come in at $99.99, and then we'll have one tier above it, which is going to have the thicker RGB fan for $149.99, and then we have a final tier above, which incorporates an LCD of some type. We haven't decided what type of LCD, because right now everybody and the mom is doing an LCD on display, on a cooler, and they all look the same. So we're trying to think of what can we do that's actually different and bring something new rather than just copying the curved panorama or the weird portraits that we're seeing now. Over here we have our aesthetic cable kits. So these are extensions for power supplies except for the 12V 2x6, which is a native cable. And so these are essentially just fully color matched for our cases. They do come with color matched connectors, cable combs, braiding. There is a silicone insulation sleeving inside, so if you want to feel it. It's very flexible, but it does retain its shape when you build, and so it kind of prevents the issue with cable mounts cables over time where they get really brittle and become hard to use in different builds. We're going to have 2 sets. One set is going to come with a 12V 2x6. The other set is going to come with 3 8-pins instead. Both sets will include 2 CPU 8-pin and a 24-pin ATS. $69.99 for the MSRP on these. That was our attempt at designing a smart 12V 2x6 cable. So when all the connectors were burning up, we did incorporate a PCB that ran through all the pins and wiring to monitor amperage and temperature. And so we were developing our own firmware for it as well, but everybody else beat us to the game, so we were like, okay, there's really no point in just adding one more solution.
Oh, there's no point. No.
These are a few prototypes. So we were developing a prototype to match the look of our X50. So this is a much more rounded design with scooped out fins, mainly for aesthetics, not for performance benefits. But the issue was, this was a dual tower with a single fan. So already there is a very big performance ceiling because you only have one fan trying to pull and push through 2 stacks of fins. Everybody else typically does dual tower, dual fan, or single tower, single fan, or even single tower, dual fan. So we were kind of going against the grain there. MSRP for this ended up being around $80. And so at that point I was like, I'd rather just pay $20 extra for Liquid Freezer 3. And if I wanted to do air cooling, I'd just pay another $20 for an NXT 15. So it's like, does the target audience for this actually exist? Personally, I didn't think so. And the product team kind of agreed there. So we decided to shelve this process. So we actually went through and made multiple prototypes. We could have gone to market with this. That's the stage we were at in development. But the pricing just didn't make sense. This is the X20. It is a more SFF focused case that was based around the rounded design of the X50. The original idea was to have a modular structure where you can either vertically or horizontally mount your GPU. If you wanted to vertically mount, this would be a glass panel, this would be a perforated mesh panel, and if you wanted to horizontally mount, this would be the perforated mesh and this would be the glass. And the goal was to essentially turn this into a gigantic touchscreen. So kind of like what we did with the Y70 Touch, but we were working on a rounded square screen that fit the entire front. So that way we could do custom one-off builds. If you wanted to customize it like a Pokemon character, for example, you could have the face on the screen, and then the rest of the face color matched with little legs and stuff like that. But we typically let 3 motherboards per generation that support SFF, and then on top of that, you get the SFF and SFXL power supplies, which also are technically more expensive. So overall, with the way the market was trending, we didn't feel that this would be that successful. Even SFF typically is popular in certain regions. It doesn't have global appeal. Even though it's a very vocal minority, it's not something that is scalable. And so we decided ultimately to shelve this as well. For this is the Z50. We showed off the Z90 at CES, and people really liked the design and structure there, with the perforated mesh all around, the ribbed architecture, and then also the 2 20-centimeter fans up front. And so we decided, okay, that case would have cost us $500 per unit to sell. Instead, let's take the X50, which we've already tooled and made. Let's change the front modular multi-rail to have 2 fans instead of fit 3 or 4, whatever you want. And we'll put the rib structure on the X50 and see what people think. So we have the ability to go to market with this and go into mass production if we wanted to tomorrow. But we're kind of using this to validate, do people still really care about it? Or was that kind of like a hype thing at CES where this was a really cool prototype, but we can't bring it to market sort of thing? This are our FA12 G2. So these are our 2nd generation of our non-RGB fans. Also in a unibody design. They come in reverse and traditional flow options. And so the 120mm comes in a 4-pack for $39.99. These sell really well at Micro Center because they're cheap, they look nice, and they have decent performance. It's really...
Send them for a spin.
What was that?
Send them for a spin.
Sure, yeah. We'll send you some. And then the Trio is going to be $24.99. Okay. And they come in 4 colorways, white, black, pink, and purple. So these 2 cases actually incorporate the Trio in the bottom in the reverse flow orientation. So you get the prettier side looking up front inside. We built this to be truly cross-platform. Let me open up my Mac here. It can power on Nexus, and it's running locally on my Mac.
Oh, it's a Mac, huh?
And so because it's a Mac, this also means it runs on Linux.
Okay.
So Nexus 3.0 runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can control it from Android, iOS, what have you, because it's a QR code based system.
Yeah.
But we also have native apps for iOS and Android that will publish on the app stores. So it's really up to you how you want to control it.
Okay.
And so the reason we did this is the creator of today typically will be streaming or gaming on a Windows PC. They'll have some sort of local NAS setup that's running on a Linux-based system to store all their footage, to offload their content and edit off of, and then usually most creators will edit on a Mac because of the hardware and software integration. Yeah. And so now you have one utility that syncs, monitors, and controls all of that from the palm of your hand or from any of the 3 devices. All of it will be cloud connected and synced, so all your settings go with you from one build to the next. And so we wish this sort of thing existed when we were building PCs a decade ago, but we're building it now for everybody else. And it is going to be completely open source for the SDK. So people will be able to build and share their own widgets and apps on the marketplace as well.
Nice.
And this is completely free. Again, unlike some of our competitors who are on Linux, you won't have to pay for profiles for RGB and you won't have to pay to unlock cooling access. This is available from day 1. 3.0 goes into closed beta next month to our beta group on Discord that's been helping us develop Nexus for over 2 years now.
Okay.
And after we get to feature parity with 2.0, we'll go out with the public beta, and through the remainder of the year, we'll slowly transition everyone off of 2.0 onto 3.0. Yeah, that's what we have for Computex this year.
This big screen, huh?
Yep. It's basically the only case that survived in the $300 plus price range.
$300. Yeah, it looks nice.
Everything else, so before this year, there were a few competitors in that price range, but now it's basically just the Lifetime Touch Infinite that's selling. And even that has been selling a lot less than normal, of course.
Yeah, because it's a check.